Hello, Devajyoti Das here. I am part of the product success team here in ServiceNow. In this session, we will cover resale order feature of Enterprise Asset Management module of ServiceNow. What is resale order? Resale order is a systematic task-based approach to reselling assets that are either not useful for the organization or the asset has reached end of its life. Again, ServiceNow, as it does with all other modules, item module life cycles, it has given prescriptive out of the box workflows to ensure important steps of this resale order are followed. Each of these steps necessitates filling of important information, one of them being upload of the resale certificates. All right. So, who are the key users of this resale order in EAM? This resale order request is primarily used by enterprise managers and technicians. Enterprise managers are responsible for submitting the request. We will see later in the demo that out of the box, ServiceNow has enabled one catalog request, which the enterprise manager uses to submit a resale order for assets. Then enterprise technicians are basically the fulfillers of this raised request. So they basically navigate to the workspace when accessing through desktop or monitors, or uses the mobile app to access the order and executes the subsequent steps to complete the entire resale order cycle. Use cases. Asset resale is one of the growing business practices across organizations. It is important for organizations to participate in circular economy to reduce waste while saving cost. It also becomes an organizational ESG matrix, that is environmental, social, and governance matrix, to showcase how much percentage of their goods getting resold after usage. So businesses need systematic method to resell assets with an audit trail. Customers need a system to automate this process, especially when the assets to be disposed of include sensitive information or regulated materials. Next, what are the important features? Enterprise resale order can be initiated from a service catalog. Out of the box, resale order has been packaged under asset lifecycle category of service catalog. Once a request is created, there is a BR which looks into the decision table. From there, it triggers the resale flow. And as mentioned before, resale order can be created by an enterprise asset manager. Resale order must include mandatory fields, stockroom vendor assigned to fields in order to execute the entire lifecycle flow. Again, asset can be in any state before they move into resale, but after verification, all the assets will be moved to pending resale. Let's move on to the next slide. Here is a high-level overview of how the resale flow actually works. So enterprise manager will basically be raising the request by accessing resale order request form from the category enterprise asset lifecycle of service catalog. And after filling the needed data, the request will be submitted, and at the backend, an asset resale order will be generated. On the workspace, enterprise technicians will be able to access that asset resale order via inventory module resale order tab. Then resale order subsequent life cycle stages include verifying the asset, then scheduling the pickup making the asset departure ready, taking vendor confirmation that the vendor has received the asset, and preparing the resale documentation. That's very much the last stage of the life cycle. So that's how the entire life cycle of asset resale looks like, from creation till proper documentation of the asset resale once the resale is completed. Okay, let's dive into the live demo session to understand how the solution looks like in an instance. Okay, so we are in the instance. For creating a resale order, a manager will access the service catalog, and under asset lifecycle, resale order request has to be selected. Now this is the form, is a very simple form. Manager will decide which asset he wants to sell. So let's choose some assets. Okay. One from G, some Verifone. Okay, and we will submit the request. Resale order got generated here. Now the technician will access the same request from workspace for further execution of the flow. We are in the EAM workspace, and here under inventory, resale order, I just need to refresh it, and this is our current order. So this is the form, and we need to fill the stock room. Filling stock room means all the asset has to be stored here. When I say asset, I meant the asset under this order has to be stored in this particular stock room so that the vendor can pick up from that stock room. We'll choose this stock room. Let's choose a vendor. Let's give it the name, say Canon. And this is basically the person who will be executing all these tasks. There are other fields which are also important in the life cycle, but not immediately. So we will not fill it for now. We'll move ahead for the next step. I'll simply save the form. Let's see what we have in the Enterprise Resale Asset tab. Is or the detail of the asset, what has been selected for reselling. And now let's go into the task execution phase. So here we could see the first task has been raised, which is verify assets. In order to verify asset, one has to click in this tab. Verification, as the word itself says, one has to verify if the asset is in correct state, or if there is a protocol in the organization that needs to be followed, and then a verification has to be executed. Now one can either verify all of them or one at a time, but they have to select them in order to verify them, or one can remove as well. So let's remove one of the asset. Let's say we will remove this one, and just remove. Right now you are seeing a resold value here for GE, which will make it more confusing for this demo. So we have to remove this one as well. So we have two Veriphones that we are considering for verification. However, if you want to add some more assets, this is where the asset here can be added. So let's add one asset. Let's go for this asset. Okay. Coming back to the task, refresh. So I have all these assets in place, which needs verification, and all the stock rooms are, you could see, they are in respective stock rooms. The moment I verify, it also includes these assets are moved into the stock room that we have chosen. So let's verify, and you could see all the stock room has been updated to this stock room. Also, there is a change in the substate where all the assets are now pending for resale. This state and substate is the direct fields of the asset. Here we could see the stage is verified. So now the objective of this task has been achieved, and hence we can close the task. This will launch the second task. What is the second task? The vendor detail. Now we need to fill the vendor details. So let's put a vendor ID, date 2 days from now, contact, or from the vendor side, let's give able with some phone number maybe. It's a free text field. You can add even an email ID. Pickup details, again, you can, if you want to add some additional details, you can go ahead and add it. Additional info, all these are multi-text field, so just for information purpose, no functional implications. Okay, so once that is done, we will save the form and close the task. Next task is our asset departure. So this is where the departing of the asset takes place. We have selected all of the assets. Now there is this button called depart. Again, you could remove the asset as well if the asset has been not considered for reselling at the last minute. But we will be considering 3 of them being a resale as part of this exercise, and we will hit the depart button. We could see stage has been moved to in transit, the same to the asset state, which is in transit pending resale. So the asset is in transit with the vendor. Now we'll close this task. Next task is vendor confirmation. The only purpose of this task is to ensure with the vendor that the vendor has received the asset successfully. There's nothing much here to fill, is just communication between the vendor and the assigned to person. And once vendor confirms, Arnold can close the task, which launches our last task, which is documentation of the reselling. This is where the task of updating the billing information, the monetary aspect of the asset gets accounted. So one can see this three asset has been resold to the vendor. Now Arnold can decide how to enter the resold value in this form, which is this value. So EAM provides two options of entering this data into the system. One is by selecting this assets and hitting this button. You could see this pop-out launches where Arnold can put the data, the money, and say confirm. The other method is a bulk update. Bulk update has been enabled in order to ensure if the number of assets is in hundreds, then it will be very tough for the person to enter the amount one by one on the pop-up form. So in that case, he will simply download the asset by clicking on this button, and let's open this. It's still downloading. Let me see. So this is how the template looks like. I have three of my resale assets and their substate quantity resold value. The first change one has to do here is update the substate to sold. It is very important. The same is informed a step ahead. Once we start the import process, you will got to see that messages. The second part is updating the resold value. One has to be aware that here in this field only the ISO currency code format is accepted, which basically means the letter format of currency and not the symbolic format of the currency. So for USD, we have to enter USD directly, and let's put a value. Don't forget the semicolon. Okay, now let's save it and we are done. Once it is saved, we have to go back to the resale documentation. Click this import button. This page opens. You just need to put a name here, say load for demo. And as said before, this is the message that ServiceNow writes out so that one does not forget to update the substate which sold and the three-letter ISO currency code in the Excel. So now we gave a name here. Let's attach a file. Where is our file? It should be here. And we are ready to go. The moment we say save, this is where the execution starts. So we'll save it. Now the data has started getting loaded, basically importing. It's completed. We could see 3 update has happened and total rows in the Excel were 3. So let's go back to the task and refresh. We could see state has been changed to retired, stage complete, state retired, substate sold, And oh, okay, it's just the euro equivalent rate of USD, probably because of my current session currency setup. And with this, we completed the documentation steps of the resale order. Now, once this is done, one has to go there and has to add resale certificate, else you cannot close the task. That is what this pop-up is saying. So first you switch this thing to yes, this field to yes, and use the clip to attach a bill or all the relevant information. I think I have one demo file saved here, so I'll upload it. Okay, it's uploaded. Certificate of resale is set to yes. My assets data is visible here. I could see all the detail of my current transaction, state, substate, resold value, and also there is this shipment asset that ServiceNow creates at the backend for more granularity of shipment if needed. So once that is done, close the task, and that's the end of resale order lifecycle completed. You could see the stage has moved to completed. Everything is correctly updated, and you go to the asset, and let's open this asset. You could see it has moved to returned and substate sold. Same activity has been updated. So if these are the values, and hence that concludes the entire cycle of our resale order. Thank you.